You and I both know that being a fan of the Cleveland Browns is not for the faint of heart. It feels like we've been waiting forever for that one masterstroke, that one undeniable, earth-shattering move that finally takes us from the realm of maybe this year to we are the absolute team to beat in the AFC. We've sat through the rebuilds, the false dawns, the hype trains that derailed before we even hit the month of October. And let's be completely honest with each other right now, as we look back at what we just witnessed in the 2025 season. You watched it. I watched it. We all watched a passing offense that looked completely broken, a receiving room that quite frankly could not get out of its own way, and a young quarterback left out to dry because nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, could create a single inch of separation. We sat there Sunday after Sunday, holding our breath every time a ball was snapped, just praying that somebody wearing brown and orange could make a play. We wasted an absolute masterclass of a season from Myles Garrett and this defense because we couldn't move the chains when it mattered most. We've been asking for a savior on the outside. We've been pleading with the front office to go out and get a true, undeniable alpha dog. We know the window in the National Football League does not stay open forever. The clock is always ticking. The pressure is always mounting. And right now, the buzz sweeping through the NFL insider community is real. It is deafening. We aren't talking about signing some washed-up veteran on a prove-it deal. We aren't talking about rolling the dice on a third-round draft pick and crossing our fingers that he miraculously develops in 2 years. We are talking about a move that shakes the very foundation of the AFC North. We are talking about a superstar, a physical freak, a game wrecker, a guy who completely dictates how defensive coordinators sleep at night. There is a massive landscape-altering rumor on the table right now, proposed by one of the most plugged-in guys in the business, and if it happens, it changes absolutely everything for the Cleveland Browns. But before we get into the details of this blockbuster trade proposal and exactly who might be packing their bags for Cleveland, I need you to do something for me. Stop what you are doing right now, click that like button to show your support for the channel, and tell me down in the comments, if the Browns trade away a first-round pick today, are you perfectly fine with mortgaging the future to win right now, or do you believe we need to keep our premium draft capital to build the offensive line? I want to read every single one of your answers. Drop your thoughts in the comments, let your voice be heard, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already because we are covering every single angle of this offseason. Alright, let's get right into it, because the news we are breaking down today is nothing short of explosive. According to a brand new ESPN proposal from Jeremy Fowler, a guy who does not just throw darts at a dartboard, a guy who talks to general managers, executives, and agents every single day, the Cleveland Browns could trade the number 24 overall pick in this year's draft to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for star wide receiver A.J. Brown. Let that sink in for a second. A.J. Brown in a Cleveland Browns uniform. A 226-pound monster who can catch a 5-yard slant and drag 3 linebackers into the end zone. On the surface, the football logic makes almost too much sense. It solves our biggest, most glaring weakness from the 2025 season. Let's look at the absolute disaster that was our receiving core last year. Our entire wide receiver room totaled just 1,467 receiving yards. Read that number again. 1,467 yards. For the whole room. That was the worst mark in the entire National Football League. We had guys dropping passes, running the wrong routes, and completely failing to establish themselves as a reliable target for a quarterback who desperately needed a safety blanket. So, you look at our draft capital. We have the number 6 pick and the number 24 pick. Fowler's logic is simple but brilliant. Use the number 6 pick to draft a cornerstone franchise offensive lineman to protect your quarterback for the next decade, and then flip that number 24 pick for a proven, 4-time 1,000-yard receiver. Instead of gambling on a rookie at 24 who might take 3 years to learn an NFL playbook, you get absolute certainty. You get a dominant force from day one. But underneath that proposal lies a much bigger story, a story about frustration, drama, and a fractured locker room in Philadelphia. A.J. Brown is publicly unhappy. This isn't just media spin. This isn't people reading into cryptic tweets or overanalyzing sideline body language. He has been remarkably vocal about his displeasure. Despite playing with Jalen Hurts on a team that fancies itself a Super Bowl contender, Brown has gone on the record saying things that should sound alarm bells for any Eagles fan. He publicly said, "If you got me in fantasy, get rid of me." He has called the situation a bleep show. He was quoted saying, "I'm struggling, brother," and even posted on Instagram, "using me but not using me." So this trade rumor isn't just some random fantasy football mock trade generated by a guy in his basement. There is real smoke here. When a star player on a contender starts vocalizing that level of frustration, the front office has to listen. But here is the massive twist, and this is what we really need to talk about. If A.J. Brown is this frustrated and this vocal on a contending team in Philadelphia, what happens if he comes to Cleveland and we struggle out of the gate? What happens if our offense stalls in September? Now the trade becomes highly emotional, not just strategic. You are bringing a massive personality into a locker room that is trying to establish a new winning identity. That is the risk. That is the tightrope we are walking. But let's look at the history, because Andrew Berry does not operate in a vacuum. History is repeating itself right before our very eyes. GM Andrew Berry doesn't typically draft elite WR1s. Think about his track record. He doesn't sit back in the late first or second round and try to uncover the next superstar wideout. He trades for proven commodities. He trades for alphas. We saw it when they traded for Jarvis Landry. We saw it with Odell Beckham Jr. We saw it when he went out and snagged Amari Cooper. We saw it with Jerry Jeudy. Berry's philosophy, when it comes to the number one receiver position, is to use assets to acquire a guy who's already done it at the highest level. The Browns' draft history at receiver under Berry? Let's just say it's inconsistent at best. We've seen a lot of speed guys and project players who never quite put it together when the lights get bright. So this A.J. Brown rumor doesn't feel crazy at all. It feels incredibly on brand for how this front office operates when their backs are against the wall. And right now, their backs are absolutely against the wall. Now let's talk about the butterfly effect of a move like this over the next 3 years. What happens to the roster construction? If you bring in A.J. Brown, he immediately commands a massive target share. That means a guy like Jerry Jeudy or Cedric Tillman slides down the depth chart into a role that actually suits them. Suddenly, your WR2 is getting extremely favorable matchups against the opponent's second-best cornerback. Your quarterback isn't staring down tight coverage on every single read. The field opens up. The tight ends have more space over the middle. The run game breathes easier because opposing safeties cannot stack the box when A.J. Brown is split out wide demanding double coverage. And that's the reality, isn't it? That's what we are facing. Look around the league and compare us to our rivals. We are facing a division where the Cincinnati Bengals are constantly threatening with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, where the Baltimore Ravens have Zay Flowers, and where the Pittsburgh Steelers are always lurking with George Pickens and a ferocious defense. If you want to survive the AFC North, you have to fight fire with fire. You cannot show up with a butter knife to a gunfight, and last year, our wide receiver room was a butter knife. But let's look at the financial obstacle, the reality check that could make this incredibly complicated. From Cleveland's side, taking on Brown's contract is actually a manageable cap hit. Andrew Berry is a wizard when it comes to manipulating the salary cap. We've seen him do it time and time again with void years and restructuring. But from Philadelphia's side, this is where Howie Roseman has to make a brutal, agonizing calculation. If the Eagles trade A.J. Brown before June 1st, they take on a staggering $48.9 million dead cap hit. Let me repeat that because it sounds made up. A $48.9 million hit just to have a guy not play for your football team. They would face a $25 million loss in cap space. Those are major, catastrophic dead money implications for a team trying to win right now. So the Eagles would need real, undeniable motivation to make this move. They would need a formal, aggressive trade request from A.J. Brown behind closed doors. They would have to conclude that the relationship is completely unfixable, toxic to the point where they are willing to eat almost $50 million in dead money just to get him out of the building. And let's look at it from a coaching perspective. Think about Todd Monken and Kevin Stefanski sitting in that film room right now, looking at the tape. What is the best-case scenario? The best-case scenario is A.J. Brown comes in, embraces the culture, puts up 1,500 yards, and completely transforms this offense into a top 10 unit, taking the immense pressure off our young quarterback and opening the door for a deep playoff run. The worst-case scenario? We give up a first-round pick, inherit a diva mentality, the Eagles laugh all the way to the bank, and next year we are sitting right here in this exact same spot talking about how the Browns' locker room is falling apart and we have no premium draft picks to rebuild the offensive line. It is a high-stakes game of poker, and Andrew Berry is holding his chips, staring across the table at Howie Roseman. Remember what happened in 2020? We thought we had all the pieces, and the chemistry just wasn't right. We cannot afford to make a mistake of that magnitude again. We have to look at the next 3 years of this window and decide if the reward outweighs the risk. The stakes have quite literally never been higher for this franchise. This isn't just a mock trade. It is a crossroads moment for the Cleveland Browns' identity. Are we going to be the team that plays it safe, drafts a kid at 24, and hopes for the best while the Ravens and Bengals run laps around us? Or are we going to be the aggressor? Are we going to push our chips to the center of the table and say, we are here to win a championship right now, and we don't care what it costs? A.J. Brown could be the missing piece. He could be the key to unlocking an offense that has been dormant for far too long. He could also be the detonator that blows up the plan. That's the drama of the NFL offseason, and we're going to be tracking every single whisper, every single rumor, and every single breaking report right here on this channel. You do not want to miss what happens next. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and click the video on your screen right now. Go Browns!